What's up, guys? Neil Orfield here, taking a look at the Stokastic NFL DFS lineup generator for Monday Night Football between the Jaguars and the Bengals. In this video, I'm going to be looking at some FanDuel lineups. While you're coming in, please like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. If you haven't already signed up for the lineup generator, it is $14.95 per week. You could find the link in the description of this video. So go find that if you have not already signed up for the lineup generator. Again, it's going to be $14.95 per week. That's going to include FanDuel, DraftKings, main slates, every primetime showdown slate. All of that is covered by the lineup generator for just $14.95 per week. The link is in the description of this video. And of course, every lineup you get in the lineup generator has been run through these stochastic sims and is profitable in these stochastic sims. So fantastic deal, $14.95 per week, only getting good lineups. Any bad lineups, according to the stochastic sims, have been thrown out. All right, we're going to look at some FanDuel single game lineups here. And I'm going to do all lineups. So we're going to get a mix of chalky, balanced, and contrarian lineups. I'm also going to use standard projections. One feature of the lineup generator for showdown slates is you can choose different game scripts if you want to. That's what these 4 different buttons are for. I like to just use these standard projections for these videos. All right, first lineup we have here, Jake Browning in the MVP spot with Jamar Chase. So we got some nice correlation there. And then from the Jaguars, we have Christian Kirk, and then we have the kicker and the defense. This makes sense to me. Jake Browning has shown at least a little bit of upside on the ground, rushed for 40 yards against the Ravens when he first came in after Joe Burrow got hurt. So showed a little bit of rushing upside in that game. Maybe he'll flash it again tonight so he gets some of his fantasy production on the ground. And then, of course, to his stud, Jamar Chase putting up some points as well. Makes sense to have. I want to have, if I'm playing Jake Browning in the MVP spot, I want to have at least one pass catcher. Typically, I prefer 2, but he did show he flashed some rushing upside. So I think it's plausible, especially on FanDuel, where it's not full PPR, for Jake Browning to be the optimal MVP and only bring along one pass catcher. So this looks like a very solid large field GPP lineup to me, leaving 2,000 on the table also. So I don't think this is going to be duped very much. I think it certainly has a shot at winning it all here and not duping a lot. So I like this for a large field GPP. All right, this one, leaving 0 on the table. This is using the entire salary cap. One thing I do like about this lineup is D'Ernest Johnson at 4% ownership is very intriguing at 8,500. So that, can keep you from being duped too many times. I still think because we're using the entire salary cap, this is a lineup that's probably going to be duped a bit. So if that's something you're trying to avoid, which it is something that I try to avoid, I don't want to play lineups that are going to be duped hundreds of times. I probably wouldn't play this lineup, but of course, as I said, this has been run through the stochastic sims. In the sims, this has been a profitable lineup. So certainly one that you could play, but one that I would not play just because I'm trying to play lineups that are not duplicated a ton. This one's leaving 1,500 on the table. We've got the Jaguars defense in the MVP spot, Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne. So Trevor Lawrence, his only pass catcher here being Etienne. That's sort of interesting. And then we got Jake Browning and Irv Smith. Leaves 1,500 on the table. I think I would use this one. I don't see any major red flags here. Trevor Lawrence has shown some rushing upside, so being paired with only Etienne, I think is fine, particularly on FanDuel. You got Jake Browning paired with Irv Smith, and then the Jaguars defense in the MVP spot. This probably works out most often in a pretty low scoring game. Maybe the Jaguars defense scores a couple touchdowns and it works in a large in a game that scores a lot of points as well. But I think more often this type of lineup will work out better in a game where not a ton of points are scored. But certainly a lineup that's not going to be duplicated much makes sense for a large field GPP. And we got Irv Smith here at just 4% ownership at 6,000. Looks pretty good here. Another one that's using the full salary cap. I think I'm going to skip past this one. Only leaves 500 on the table. I think, going to skip past this one. I like the construction with Kirk in the MVP spot and Trevor Lawrence in the flex, kicker, defense, and then just Jamar Chase. So I like the construction, but just because it's only leaving 500 on the table, I probably wouldn't use it for a large field GPP. I think it will be duped. Now, this is the other end of the spectrum, leaving 9,500 on the table. So let's take a look. We have Trevor Lawrence in the MVP spot. Like that. Trevor Lawrence makes a lot of sense in the MVP spot. His only pass catching option here is D'Ernest Johnson, the backup running back. 4% ownership going to D'Ernest Johnson. I think that's okay on FanDuel that he just has the one pass catcher in the flex and that it is a running back. I think, could work out. Again, Lawrence could score a rushing touchdown, and then his only passing touchdown is to Dearness Johnson. A lot of ways that this could work out. We also have the kicker in the defense, and then just the kicker for the Bengals. So again, probably a game where you're not expecting a lot of points to be scored is where this would work out. I think it makes some sense. You could keep in mind, because we're leaving 9,500 on the table, every single player in this lineup could be upgraded to any player up to 9,500 more expensive than them. So is it possible that all of these players outscore all of the players up to 9,500 more expensive than them? It's possible. Obviously the toughest spot would be Dearness Johnson having to outscore Chase and Kirk and Ridley and all of those players. You have Dearness Johnson here instead of them. So it's asking a lot. This is a lineup that's not going to win very frequently, but when it does win, it's going to win all of the money. It's going to win the first prize solo, most likely. So, just a matter of your time horizon for your profit. Are you okay if you don't win? If this is the lineup you play, you're most likely going to lose your money. Are you okay with losing that money? It's a lineup that will win once every couple of years, probably. So this is asking a lot for this one. All right, this one is using the entire salary cap. We got Lawrence with Ridley. This is a chalkier lineup. So this is one that will win more frequently than the last one. When it does win, it's not going to win as much money. So still a totally fine lineup. Again, these are all lineups that are profitable in these Stokastic sims. All right, now this one is right in my wheelhouse. This is like, to me, the perfect type of large field GPP lineup. So we have the perfect construction. We've got Trevor Lawrence in the MVP spot with Evan Ingram and Zay Jones. So he's paired with two of his pass catchers. We've got the Jaguars defense in there, and then Jamar Chase, the only representative from the Bengals, and we're leaving 3,500 on the table. So it looks entirely plausible. There's nothing that's crazy about this lineup at all, but it's leaving 3,500 on the table, so it's not going to be duplicated a ton. I love this lineup. This is my favorite lineup that we have looked at so far for a large field GPP. Makes a ton of sense. Leaves enough salary on the table that it's not going to be duped a lot, but still has a lot of the best players on the slate in it. The construction is great. I like it quite a bit. I think this makes a ton of sense for a large field GPP. This one uses the full salary cap, so not my favorite. This is another, I think, a very strong large field GPP lineup. We got Calvin Ridley in the MVP spot paired with Trevor Lawrence, so nice correlation there. We got ETN, Jaguars defense, and then Irv Smith, the only representative from the Bengals. Maybe the Bengals don't put up many points, but Irv Smith scores the only touchdown, leaves 2,000 on the table, so won't be duped a lot. So again, another great large field GPP lineup. All right, now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to save these lineups, and at the end we can see what our final exposures are. All right, final exposure, we got to 80% Trevor Lawrence. That makes sense. He's only 14.5K. That's pretty inexpensive for one of the best plays on the slate, probably the top projected play on the slate. We got Jaguars defense in 65%. That is kind of insane. Getting 65% Jaguars defense. You don't see that very often, that much of a defense, but they are facing Jake Browning, a Bengals offense that has not been great. So makes sense to me to have a lot of the Jaguars defense. Jake Browning still make it into 53% of our lineups, ETN 42%, 38% Ridley, 30% Ingram, and then down from there, a nice mix of players across lineups. So we have a lot of very different lineups here represented in the lineup generator. Like the video if you have not already done so. Please helps us out quite a bit if you will do that. If you want to check out the lineup generator for yourself, again, the link is in the description of this video. It's going to be $14.95 per week. Thanks for watching. Good luck tonight.